Hi, everybody. Today we continue with the subject of international migration, and so my consecutive speech will be on the role of DNA analysis in determining patterns of population migration throughout history. As we know, throughout early human history, there has been a number of significant migration events. For example, one of the earliest and most significant migrations occurred about 60,000 years ago, when large groups of people moved from Africa to various locations across the planet. Another example is known as Native American migrations. They happened between 10 to 14,000 years ago, and that's when people from Asia crossed the Bering land bridge in multiple migration waves to settle in the Americas. And there are many other examples. So, what allows scientists to precisely determine various migration paths and timelines is DNA analysis. This is a special technique that was developed about 20 years ago. Small amounts of DNA are extracted from ancient samples such as bones, or sometimes even from soil in which these samples were found. Then scientists sequence the extracted DNA in a lab, which means they determine the exact sequence of nucleotides or bases in a DNA molecule. Then these DNA samples are compared with DNA samples from contemporary populations. The interesting question is, how does DNA encode migration patterns, and what kind of genetic markers are we talking about? There are variations in our genetic code that occur very slowly. The process takes generations. And so, as populations migrate and diverge, each group over time develops distinct genetic characteristics or distinct genetic markers. So, those groups over time become genetically very distinct. There are two types of DNA in particular that are especially useful here: mitochondrial DNA or mtDNA and the Y-chromosome. mtDNA is passed from the mother and is used for tracing maternal lineage, and the Y-chromosome is passed from father to son and is used for tracing paternal lineage. So scientists analyze mutations in these two types of DNA, and they can estimate the likelihood of a particular population following a particular migration route. Scientists also use special tools to visualize different genetic markers across geographical regions. As a result, a migration map is produced that traces the migration path of a particular population. This type of DNA analysis has shown, for example, that genetic markers associated with the African migration that occurred about 60,000 years ago are found in populations worldwide today. In the same way, different Native American populations today exhibit distinct genetic markers that are linked to different populations in Asia and in Siberia. Now, the exciting thing is that this type of analysis doesn't only work on populations, but it can also be used by individual people who would like to find out where they come from or who their ancestors were. There are many private companies that offer this kind of genetic testing. If you'd like to find out more about your past, all you need to do is order a DNA testing kit. The procedure is quite simple. You need to collect a saliva sample with a swab, then put it in the envelope that's included in the kit, and mail it back to the company. As the first stage of the analysis, your genetic data would be compared to other genetic data in an extensive database that includes samples from diverse populations from all over the world. This will allow the specialists in the lab to link your genetic markers to specific ethnic groups or regions. The next step would be to identify unique sets of genetic markers that are associated with different branches of specifically your family tree. These sets are called haplogroups. There are mtDNA haplogroups and Y-chromosomal haplogroups. And accordingly, mtDNA haplogroups trace your maternal ancestry, and Y-chromosomal haplogroups would trace your paternal ancestry. These advances in genomics open up a whole bunch of new possibilities for people who would like to trace their family history and to learn more about who they are. For example, adopted children might want to use this kind of DNA analysis to find out who their birth parents were or whether they have any siblings. This is very exciting, but to my mind, there is a potential dark side. Who knows what you might find once you start poking around in your past? Are you sure that you would be able to handle the truth once it emerges? They say ignorance is bliss, and perhaps in this case, it would be wise to let sleeping dogs lie and keep just a little bit of mystery in your personal life. Thank you.